Hello there. If you're an Aries, I have a warning for you. It won't be easy to hear, but it might just change the rest of your life because September 2025 isn't just another month. It's a sacred turning point, a doorway quietly closing 13 long years of struggle and opening up 25 powerful years of abundance. But only for those brave enough to face themselves. Are you ready to look back on these past 13 years? Not to blame, not to regret, but to understand why you had to survive all of it. Then come with me. Let's begin this journey at the very first layer of truth where Aries' silent war finally gets a name. There are flames born to light up the entire path. And yet, strangely, Aries has had to hide that flame for 13 long years. You were born a pioneer, a symbol of action, of raw, blazing instinct. But the path behind you felt more like walking through darkness. Slow, cold, and painfully quiet. As if you were carrying a burning torch, trapped in a dungeon with no way out. Instead of leading the way, you became the one clearing the path for others. Instead of charging forward like you were meant to, you learned to step aside. Instead of shouting your needs out loud, you taught yourself to stay silent just to keep the peace for everyone else. You called it responsibility. You believed it was maturity. But tell me, have you ever asked yourself, am I really living a life that's mine? The world has no idea how many times you've sacrificed just to keep everything in control. They don't see how many storms of anger you've swallowed down without a sound, how many dreams you folded away so others could move ahead. How many times you bit your tongue just to protect a fragile peace that never truly included you. Aries, you've lived like a warrior chained to the battlefield. Still wearing your armor, still holding the fire within, but not allowed to move forward. You used to be a flame, but over time that flame was told to burn quietly. Don't disturb anyone. Don't shine too bright. Don't cross the line. And the most heartbreaking part, you started to believe it. How many times have you wondered, does this fire in me still matter? In a world that only wants me to become stable and quiet. In Buddhism, there's a sacred truth. Suffering is the seed of wisdom. Only those who have walked in darkness long enough can truly see the light within themselves. Maybe these past 13 years have been your spiritual training, not in a temple, but in the raw rituals of everyday life. You didn't chant mantra, but you practiced patience. You didn't wear robes, but you heard the silent screams of your soul. Aries, if you're hearing these words right now, ask yourself with full honesty, have I lived so much for others that I forgot how to keep my own fire alive? Maybe you've never told anyone this. Maybe you've convinced yourself that your emotions weren't important enough to name, but that long silence, it's made you forget how brightly you used to burn. People love to say, ARIES are strong. Aries don't need anyone, but no one ever asks. What happens when even warriors get tired? What happens on nights when you just want to drop your sword and be held without needing to explain a thing? I wasn't there for the battles you fought alone, but I believe every cell in your body remembers what you've been through, and because you lived it all with your whole heart. The universe now has a reason to open a door. A door to the next 25 years. Not just to survive anymore, but to build a kingdom. Your kingdom. If this story sounds like your own, if you've been the one who gave, who carried, who stayed silent, then share this because somewhere out there, another Aries needs to know they're not alone. And maybe the moment you admit it all, the first layer of your prison will crumble. The first ray of light will break through and the journey back to your original fire will finally begin. Or maybe it already has. Because right now, as you're listening, the universe is speaking too. It's saying, it's time to reclaim everything you once gave up just to keep the peace. And when the bell rings in September 2025, a new era begins, not with a knife in your hand for defense, but with a sacred spear meant to lead your own way forward. A path that's been waiting for you all along. Brighter, freer, and this time, you're the one who opens it. Are you ready to take your spear, Aries? Because this September doesn't just begin a new cycle, it resets your entire destiny. And behind that door is the return of the light you once feared you no longer deserved. There are moments in life you can't quite name, but deep down in your soul, you just know nothing will ever be the same again. Aries, you've lived through 13 years like that with a sword always by your side. Not to attack, but to defend, to guard against pain, to fight off judgment, to protect yourself from being misunderstood, loved the wrong way. Expected to be someone you're not. That sword became your symbol of survival. And you've lived in survival mode for so long, you forgot something vital. Life isn't just about surviving. It's about creating. It's about power. It's about choice, beauty, and the light God breathed into your soul the moment you were called Aries. September 2025. A sacred moment where even time itself will bow. A cosmic event your soul has been waiting for. Your entire life is finally arriving. And it won't be loud. There will be no thunder, no warnings. It will come in stillness, like waking up at dawn and suddenly feeling something in the air has shifted, as if the weight on your chest has vanished. As if you no longer need to protect yourself. As if you can finally put the sword down. Because in that quiet moment, the universe will come closer and hand you something entirely new. Not a sword, but a spear. A spear not made for fighting back, but for leading forward. A symbol no longer carrying the energy of battle, but of leadership, of creation, of protection, and of carrying light. It's not heavy, but your hands will tremble when you touch it. Not because it's frightening, but because you'll realize something profound. You've never been trusted this deeply before. How long has it been? Since you believed you were worthy of being empowered, how many times have you turned down a chance because you thought you weren't ready? And then as you lift that spear for the first time, a truth will rise within you that brings tears to your eyes. You were always chosen, not because you were perfect, but because God knows your heart is pure. The universe knows you've endured enough, kept the fire burning long enough, and never gave up on what was right. This September, your life will be reset as if you were baptized again. Not in water, but in light. And with that light, you won't walk like a worn-out warrior anymore. You'll walk as a pioneer, as someone who's clearing the path ahead. You're no longer the one who stays behind to clean up the wreckage. You're the one who goes first. And this time, every door will open because your hand holds the spear of truth. Now, I want you to ask yourself this, not with your mind, but with your heart. If the universe placed that sacred spear in your hands today, where would you lead it? Where would you begin? Pause for a moment, take a deep breath, and listen to the answer rising from your soul. Not from logic, but from truth. Write it down or share it if you feel called. Because maybe your journey will become the light for another Aries who's still lost out there somewhere. I believe this with all my heart. When just one Aries picks up their sacred spear, the whole world shines a little brighter. Because your fire was never just meant to guide your own path, but to warm those too afraid to walk theirs. And you know something, the moment you rise, the moment you whisper, "I'm ready," heaven itself will fall silent to listen. Because a true warrior doesn't just know how to wield a sword. They know when to lay it down and take up the sacred spear that God set aside for them long ago. And that spear is now in your hands, waiting for a decision. But to truly walk in this new light, Aries must face one very old enemy. One you've carried inside your heart for years. A silent shadow hiding beneath your strength. You know what it is. Let's return together to the place where no light has ever reached. To name that enemy and step into the deepest layer of your true liberation. Hello, Aries. Sometimes what's holding us back isn't a locked door. It's our own hand holding the key, but too afraid to turn it. You are the first fire born to lead, born to act, born to go where no one's ever gone before. But after years of being told to calm down, to stay in control, to stop stirring the pot, you started believing that your light was dangerous. It's not that you don't know how powerful you are. You do, but you're scared. Scared that if you show all of that strength, someone might get hurt. Scared that if you speak your truth, love with your full heart, burn the way your soul wants to, the world won't be able to handle you. So you shrink. You second-guess the fire when it rises. You hesitate even when your gut screams go. You become cautious, overly cautious. You learn to be reasonable, measured, not too much, but Aries' fire was never meant to be controlled by fear. It was born to burn by divine design. And your flame, no matter how long you've buried it, still flickers in the depths of your soul, waiting to rise in its true form, warm, wild, and unapologetic. Maybe you've heard that voice inside. Don't be too loud. Don't make a scene. Don't make people uncomfortable. Don't be too much. But here's the truth. Real light. It never worries about being too bright. It only dims when it's wrapped in doubt. Aries, you weren't born to be just enough. You were born to blaze. You are the fire of creation, the sacred spark sent by God to ignite the beginning of life and the flame He placed in your heart. It wasn't meant to be hidden. It was meant to shine the way for those still lost in the dark. You once knew this when you were a child. Your heart was bold, honest, unfiltered. You said what you believed out loud until someone told you you were too much, until you started shrinking yourself just to be accepted. But let me tell you something. No one should have to become smaller just to fit inside someone else's box. The more you shrink, the further you drift from the very light you came here to share. There's a teaching in Buddhism. Only when you embrace your darkness can you truly step into your light. And for Aries, that darkness isn't anger. It's the fear of being misunderstood for shining too brightly. You've stayed silent to keep the peace. Nodded your head just to please. Turned away so no one would see you hurting. And every time you did, the fire didn't die, but it pulled back, grew smaller, grew sadder, until one day even you forgot how bright you used to be. I'm not asking you to go back to being reckless. I'm simply asking you just once to stand tall, look your inner fire in the eye, and whisper, "I won't hold this light back anymore." Have you ever feared your own power? Do you remember the last time you kept something inside just to avoid being too much? If you feel ready, share it, because your story might be the mirror that helps another soul remember their own light. Aries, never forget you are not here by accident. God didn't place a flame in your hand and tell you to hide it. He placed it there so you could shine, so you could warm, so you could burn away everything that no longer serves your soul. And the moment you accept that fire, not run from it, not apologize for it, that's the moment freedom begins. Not the freedom to do everything, but the freedom to be yourself fearlessly. And here's the beautiful twist. The moment you rise, when you dare to burn again, the universe will send something back. Something you thought you lost will return. But this time, it will look different. It will feel softer, brighter, and finally worthy of you. There are things we think we've lost forever. A chance, a person, a moment that feels too far gone. And then one morning, when your heart has grown quieter, when your hands have stopped clenching with regret, when your soul no longer begs time to turn back, that thing returns softly, gently, as if it had never left a scar. Aries, in this sacred cycle of your next 25 years, the universe will return to you something that was once deeply precious, something you dropped or deliberately placed down. Because at that time you thought, not now. It's not meant for me. Someone else needs it more than I do. Maybe it was a person who left while you still loved them with everything you had. Maybe it was a career path that made your heart light up, but you gave it up because someone else needed the space. Maybe it was a door that opened halfway, but you closed it because you didn't yet believe. You were ready to walk through it. You called it sacrifice. You believed you were doing the right thing. And maybe you were, because sometimes true love means letting someone else go first. It means standing quietly in the wind, taking the brunt of the storm so someone else doesn't have to. But here's the miracle. The universe never forgets an act done from a pure heart. God does not stay silent when you give up what you want just to protect someone else's peace. He sees everything and He waits. Waits for the moment. When you're no longer driven by longing, but by strength, by wholeness, by worth. In Buddhist teachings, there's something heartbreakingly beautiful. Destiny doesn't disappear. It transforms. The one who didn't stay with you needed to take the long road so they could become better too. The opportunity that slipped away needed time to evolve until it became the right opportunity for you. And now, in the first year of this new cycle, from September 2025 to the end of summer 2026, something destined will happen. A person or a purpose from your past will find its way back to you. Not to test you again, but to close a circle that was left incomplete. You'll be surprised. You'll feel your heart open. Not with fear, but with peace. Not from emptiness, but from the calm of no longer fearing loss. And when that gift comes close, you won't need to ask. You'll just smile and say, "I deserve this." Maybe that person will return and look at you with different eyes. Maybe that job will open up again just when you stopped searching. Maybe that opportunity will arrive in a brand new form, but you'll recognize it immediately as the thing you once let go of when your heart wasn't yet brave enough to receive it. And that is the gift of destiny. Not to make you relive old pain, but to show you never truly lost it. You were only being tested to see if you'd be brave enough to choose it again, but this time with the light of a soul that's been reborn. If the universe were to return to you just one thing in this lifetime, a gift that's been cleansed, healed, and made whole again, what would you want it to be? Let your heart answer. Not with words, but with the first image that appears when you close your eyes. And if you feel ready, share it. Because your story might just be the light that helps someone else find their way home. And when that gift finds its way back into the hands of the one who truly deserves it, another question will begin to rise. How do I protect it now? How do I make sure I never drop it again? Aries, this is the moment to understand. 3 sacred realms are waiting ahead of you. Money, love, and luck. 3 powerful rivers no longer passing you by, but flowing directly toward you. If and only if you're ready to receive. When a soul enters a new cycle, it no longer seeks power. It seeks peace. It no longer asks, what must I fight for to have what I want? It begins to ask instead, who must I become, so that what I seek finds me? Aries, you were once the warrior who led the charge. You know what it feels like to work yourself into exhaustion. You know what it means to sacrifice your needs just to keep someone else from walking away. You've tasted what it's like to chase fortune only to feel like it's always one step ahead of you. But from that moment in September, when the blade in your hand falls to the ground, and the spear of destiny is placed into your hands, not by force, but by divine right, the universe will guide you into 3 sacred realms, no longer to fight, but to receive. And these realms, they've been waiting for you, waiting for the moment you'd finally return to yourself so they could open. The first realm is wealth. Not the kind you have to suffer to earn, but the kind that's already flowing, just waiting for you to believe you're worthy of receiving it. You've stood behind the curtains of other people's success. You've helped build empires for others, only to be paid just enough to survive. You became the pillar others climbed and forgot you too were meant to rise. Aries, money doesn't come because you suffer enough. It comes when you open your heart to receive. It comes when you stop asking, have I done enough to deserve this? And instead say, I am who I am, and that is enough. The universe does not reward the fastest runner. It rewards the one who dares to live fully in their flame. The second realm is love. And this time, you won't love the way you used to. You won't mirror someone else's emotions. You won't shrink, bend, or dim your light just so someone will stay. You won't ask, what do I need to change to keep this person? You'll ask, is this person brave enough to love a soul like mine? You are fire. You are light. You were not born to fade beneath someone else's shine. You were born to burn next to someone bold enough to burn with you. This time love won't be a negotiation. It will be resonance. No more reducing yourself to keep the peace. Each of you a note blending into a symphony that needs no conductor. And you know what's rarer than wealth and even rarer than love? Luck. Not a gamble, not a coincidence, but luck. As the quiet voice of the universe whispering, you are on the right path. You don't need to chase it. You just need to fully become yourself and luck will follow you like a gentle shadow. Picture this. You walk into a new day. No rush, no desperation, just steady steps and everything good begins to show up along the way as if it already knew you were coming. That is the reward of living in truth. No hiding, no apologizing for being too bright, too real. The universe is simple. It reflects exactly what you radiate. If you live in doubt, you'll receive confusion. If you live in clarity, you'll witness blessings just as clear. So, Aries, among these 3 realms, wealth, love, and luck, which door will you walk through first? Because the place where you were once most wounded could also be the place where the light returns the strongest. Take a breath. Listen to the answer rising in your heart. And if you feel ready, share it. Because the choice you make today will shape the 25 years to come. But remember, you won't walk into these sacred realms alone. 2 ancient forces are waiting at the edge of your destiny. One is Mars, the guardian of your soul. One is Saturn, the stern teacher who has tested you for 13 years. And when these 2 stars align on your side, everything you once believed was impossible will become the foundation of an empire that cannot be shaken. There comes a time when life is no longer a race for quick victories, but a long soul-shaping journey that demands both stamina and passion. And for Aries, that moment is closer than it's ever been. If someone asked what kept a warrior like you standing for 13 stormy years, Through every wound, every collapse, every silent war, the answer is the fire that never died inside you. It may have flickered. It may have been buried under mountains of trials, but it never left. It burned quietly, relentlessly, faithfully, but in September 2025, something extraordinary begins. Because for the first time in many years, the universe will not test you anymore. It will stand with you. A rare alliance between two powerful planets, Mars and Saturn, will align to lift you up. Not everyone gets this blessing, but you, Aries, you were born under Mars. Mars, the god of will, action, and raw strength, is your ruling planet. Every time you rise after a fall, every time your energy roars back like wildfire, that's Mars moving through your bloodstream. Like a molten river that can't be chained. But fire without form burns everything without direction. It consumes, then disappears. That's when Saturn enters. Saturn, the great architect of the cosmos, the planet of patience, limits, discipline, and growth. The one force Aries usually resists the most. Structure, slowness, strategy, restraint. But now, after 13 long years of being refined in the fire, you are finally ready to carry it. Imagine this. When passion is poured into the bones of discipline. When willpower is housed in the glass vessel of responsibility. You no longer burn just to burn. You become a lighthouse, a beacon that holds its light steady through storms, a guiding fire that lasts not for a night, but for the next 25 years. This time, you're not starting over. You're building from the foundation. The universe gave you Mars to be brave and Saturn so you don't give up halfway. Two sides of the same coin. Two forces once at odds, now forming the pillars of your destiny. Because after so many years of rushing to survive, this is the first time you're allowed to slow down to grow. There will still be days you want to tear it all down and start fresh. There will be nights when your old temper returns. But remember, you're not walking alone anymore. The universe knows who you are now, and it's handing you a solid map to take you where you were always meant to go. Not every flame is chosen to light the path for others. But Aries, you are one of the few. You weren't born just to burn. You were born to build, to protect, to inspire. Can you feel it moving in you already? A deeper current, quieter, but as fierce as lava, ready to break through every wall. Not through rebellion anymore, but through vision. And when you start living with that vision, when your passion is sustained by discipline, you'll become the foundation for miracles. Ask yourself, have you ever doubted your own power just because you lacked the structure to lift it up? If today you were given a second chance to carry your fire in a stronger vessel, what would you create? If you've ever believed you were born to do something great, this is the moment. And in that moment, when you realize Mars and Saturn together are a gift, you'll stop feeling alone in the journey. You'll feel guided because when the universe chooses to lift a soul, it's because that soul is ready to become a symbol. So now, let me take you even deeper to a sacred place where the highest spiritual message for Aries is waiting to be revealed. There's a strange kind of silence, the kind that only shows up after a storm. It's not the silence of loss. It's the stillness that comes before an awakening. If you feel like you're standing at the edge of something massive, but deep down there's still hesitation, a flicker of doubt, a subtle resistance, that's because the light within you is starting to burn brighter than ever. And sometimes that brilliance itself can be terrifying. Afraid no one will understand. Afraid of being judged. Afraid that your light will make someone else feel small. Afraid you won't be able to hold it long enough. But Aries, you were not born to ask for permission to be yourself. You were never meant to dim your fire just to make others feel comfortable. You were made to lead with your own light. Not everyone will understand why you're different. Why you speak the truth no one dares to say. Why you leap before anyone else even believes it's possible. But here's the truth. History isn't written by the ones who follow. And no path has ever been carved by someone who stood on the sidelines. You're the one who steps beyond old boundaries. The one who lights the torch in a dark forest and walks ahead anyway. You are the flame and no one can put it out unless you choose to let it die. Maybe once you tried to shrink yourself to fit someone else's picture. Maybe once you let the world's noise drown out your soul's calling. But if you listen closely in the quietest hours of the night, your true light is still there. It never left. It's just been waiting for you to be brave enough to burn again, To burn completely, without apology, without retreat, without bargaining with the world about how bright you're allowed to shine. Because that light is what will illuminate the next 25 years of your life. Only when you choose yourself will the world finally see who you truly are. Only when you're no longer afraid to burn can your light find its way into the hearts of those who have been waiting for it. And that's when the miracles begin. When you live as your full, unedited self. You start attracting people, opportunities, and doors that only appear when you stop running from your own brilliance. Aries was never meant to be a copy of anyone. You weren't born to be just enough. You were born to pioneer, to clear the path, to inspire, to live as a symbol. Maybe you didn't choose the easy road, but real light. The kind that matters has never come from ease. It's forged in pain, shaped through resilience, and kept alive by the belief that your existence has purpose. And that purpose is to shine, not because you need to be seen, but because someone else needs your light to find their way. So, let me ask you, are you ready to live like a true Aries? No hiding, no apologies, no shrinking, just you on fire, clear and unforgettable. I'd love to hear your story when you finally chose yourself. What changed? Share it with me because I believe every story an Aries tells has the power to spark something in